automotive technology, the Toyota Mirai hydrogen fuel cell vehicle, now available in California. Combining oxygen from the atmosphere with hydrogen from its fuel tank, Mirai's only byproduct is water. You heard correct. Its only emission is pure, clean H2O. As with any Toyota, extensive testing and evaluation have ensured that Mirai delivers unparalleled safety, efficiency, and reliability. And with hydrogen fueling stations online throughout SoCal, California drivers now have the opportunity to be leaders in a new era of green innovation. What's more, Mirai is eligible for California's white HOV sticker, which grants single-occupant access to the carpool lane. That got your attention, didn't it? For more information, including where to find a dealer near you and all the current incentives, visit toyota.com/Mirai. That's toyota.com/MIRAI. Toyota Mirai, the next evolution in green automotive technology.
The following program is a podcast1.com production.
I'm so glad you're with us on the Clark Howard Show, where it's all about you. I want you to learn ideas from me so that you can keep more of what you make. Follow me at facebook.com/Clark Howard. You got a question for me, go to clark.com/ask. And of course, our web address is clark.com. Coming up in today's Clark-rageous moment in 20 minutes, you are going to be stunned what the average person in America now pays to have a checking account. Even more shocking, most people don't even know what they're paying. And later, do you know you're going to go to prison for years and years and years for sharing your Netflix password? Not true, even though that is an urban legend right now. I'm going to fill you in on what happened that led to this wild, nasty rumor that sharing passwords with anybody for anything is going to send you to the big house, tell you what's really going on, and why you don't need to worry. Just be happy. I'm going to address a very difficult topic right now that is so in the news, and it involves a gentleman at 40 years old who was killed in a car wreck in Florida in May. He was driving a very advanced Tesla and an electric car that has a feature known as autopilot, that you just click a lever twice in the car and the computer takes over and drives the vehicle. Well, this gentleman was apparently watching a Harry Potter movie because the car was driving, and the autopilot failed to recognize that a tractor-trailer truck turned into its path and hit the tractor-trailer truck at full speed. The tractor-trailer truck pulling in front of it, who knows if what would have happened in that case anyway, because the truck pulled in front when there was not clear space. But the fact is the man's dead. And the idea of the autopilot is that it's supposed to make you safer. Well, Consumer Reports has absolutely freaked out about this, and they have put out a warning that I'm looking at it right now. It's one of the main stories on Consumer Reports. Tesla's autopilot, too much autonomy too soon. And Consumer Reports has put out a recommendation that Tesla disable the system until it can be made safer. In fact, I should do that as a direct quote. Consumer Reports calls for Tesla to disable hands-free operation until its system can be made safer. So nobody says I didn't say exactly what they said. And there's a federal investigation, blah, 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 blah. I have had the privilege of having a self-driving Tesla that I've fully engaged self-driving for more than a year. And it is, as they disclose, it's a beta. They're learning how to do it. You're connected, when you drive a Tesla, you're connected to their mainframe computer system at all times. So they're learning from all of us on the road. Now, I am happy to be a guinea pig for this, because ultimately so many lives are going to be saved across this great nation of ours by the self-driving technology. I can tell you, because I drove on the autopilot yesterday for a great length of time. I was out of town, and the autopilot drove me probably about 95% of the time yesterday. Sometimes it's like 99% of the time. And it's uncanny how good it is and how much better it drives than I can, or I do. It is really phenomenal how well it drives. Is it perfect? No. But the reality is safety devices get better from the early adopters using them, and the knowledge that is gathered from that creates safety features that become widely available to everyone. So to say, turn it off, turn the machines off because of the death of one individual is really beyond ridiculous. It's not like the system is flawed completely. And I want you to know that there's a lot of agendas underway, not necessarily Consumer Reports, but there's a lot of agendas in the car business from people that want to destroy Tesla because it's an upstart. And the CEO of it, the founder, Elon Musk, is a pretty brash, potentially arrogant guy, and he rubs a lot of people in the industry the wrong way. And he's upset their way of doing business. But I want you to know that regardless of whatever fuss is made now, that in the next few years, it will be common that when you're shopping for a vehicle, the vehicle will come with features that will be fantastic to make you and your passengers, and if you have a family traveling with you, your family safer on the road. It is all good stuff. And yes, what I'm using is not fully refined. And I'm aware of that. And it's my duty and my responsibility, as the alert tells me, to be prepared to take control at any time. All drivers, when you're on a highway trip, kind of get into a zone where you're kind of not quite there. And that's why a technology that takes over the driving is so much safer for you and me. You know, it made a big news story because someone died because the technology failed. What about all the other people who die every single week in car accidents? The goal, the target, should be to eliminate as many of those fatalities as possible, not to mention all the injuries that occur in car wrecks. And I would much rather trust myself on the road to the still to be fully refined autopilot than my own skills behind the wheel. I don't know what that says about my ability to drive. Sal is with us on the Clark Howard Show. Hello, Sal.
Hi, Clark. How are you?
Great, thank you. We want to talk about a really good thing with cars. You're about to be debt-free on your cars. Is that right?
That's correct, Clark. My wife and I will finish paying our 2 cars off pretty soon.
That's great. So are you going to keep the cars after you finish paying them off?
Yes, we're going to keep those. We're not buying any new cars for now, so we'll have some extra money every month. So we want to know, what should we do with that extra money?
Do you need my mailing address to send me the money?
Sure, go ahead with it.
So tell me what else goes on in your life. What do you do in terms of other debts? What are you doing to save for the future, that kind of thing?
As far as debt, we're pretty much debt-free. We only have the car payments, and we also put money aside every month on a different savings account. So this money from the car payments is going to be completely extra.
Wow. So what are your goals? Do you own a home? Is that something you want to do?
We do own our home. I mean, we have a mortgage.
Ah, okay. And what kind of interest rate are you paying on that?
That, I believe it's a 3.75.
Which is a great rate. How long do you think you'll stay in that home?
Well, we just got it about a year ago, so we'll be there for a few years.
Oh, just a few.
Yeah, well, we're newlyweds, so...
Congratulations.
So, thank you. So, as the family grows, then maybe we'll look into moving and buying a new house, but for now, we're happy there.
Okay. The reason I was asking is if you're suddenly going to have a lot of dollars free each month, with how low mortgage rates have dropped on 15-year refinances, with them down in the mid-twos, I was trying to think, would that make sense to lower the interest rate significantly on your mortgage? But if you're planning to bail on the house in the next few years, that's probably not the best use of money. What are each of you doing saving for retirement?
I have, through my job, I have two retirement accounts. I believe it's a 401A,
okay.
I believe. And then the other one is I think 457.
So you're a government employee?
That's correct, yes.
All right. So what percent of your pay are you saving in?
15% of my pay goes for that, for my retirement.
Great. So you're handling money magnificently. How about your wife? What's she doing to save?
She's putting a little bit aside as far as retirement. I'm not exactly sure of the number, but it's not as...
All right, that's the biggest, then that would be the biggest hole in what we've discussed, is for her to significantly boost what she's saving for retirement.
Okay.
Especially, are you planning maybe to have kids in the future?
Yes, we are, hopefully.
Then she needs to save more than you do. Because what happens to women is they, through the childbirth cycle, they're in and out of the workforce more than we are, obviously. And a lot of times we'll go back maybe part-time instead of full-time. And so women live longer than us and ultimately end up with much smaller accounts for retirement than we have as guys. So I would say the biggest change that you should consider as a couple is doing a huge increase in what she's saving for retirement.
Okay, and that's through her salary, correct?
Right. So does she have the equivalent, like a 401k or anything like that where she works?
Yeah, she does.
So in her case, I'd throw every last penny at it, every paycheck she could, as soon as the cars are paid off.
Okay. So instead of putting that money aside, just having her just put more money from her paycheck.
Exactly. Good. And then the beauty is that both of you are learning to live on less than what you make in each case, and you're then in a better position to afford the cost of maybe a lower income once a baby comes into your lives. So I think that combination would be great. Richard's with us on the Clark Howard Show. Richard, you got a question about Charles Schwab.
Yes, I do. What I tried to do was open an intelligent portfolio, and they would not let me do it because I had a credit freeze on my credit reporting accounts, and they said it was company policy that I had to thaw the credit freezes to allow them access to that.
And this is happening. This is happening all over the country. I'm hearing these reports. And so the reason that this is going on is that brokerages are having to establish that you are who you say you are, and there are a number of reasons that they have to do so, specifically related to money laundering, and of late also the possibility of people using a brokerage account to funnel money for terrorism. So when your credit's frozen, they can't run the background check that they are supposed to run. And when I first got this question, it wasn't about Schwab. It was about one of the online banks. And I was like, that's ridiculous. Why do you have to thaw your credit to open an account with an online bank? And then the answer we got is that this is what you're going to have happen and this is from the Industry Trade Association for the stock brokerages, that you have to thaw your account for the various reasons involving money laundering and terrorism.
Okay, well, thank you very much for explaining that.
But that wasn't a good explanation, was it?
Well, it was the best explanation that I could get.
Okay, well, I'm glad I could give you at least that. There should be a better way than forcing you to spend the money to thaw your credit. Here on the Clark Howard Show, one of my missions is to keep you from being ripped off. I have some new info about how you can get a couple of $100 like that back in your wallet. It's so easy to do. It's the source of today's Clark-rageous moment.
Scams, rip-offs, outrages. It's a Clark-rageous moment.
There's a study done by TransferWise that did a study of Americans and what they know about their bank accounts and what they don't know. So the average American is spending just a hair under $300 a year in fees and junk fees on having a bank account. Almost $300. You think about that, what you could do with $300 back in your life. The crazy thing is roughly half of people surveyed have no idea what they're paying. They've never looked. They don't have any awareness. So you know that today it is super easy for you to have bank accounts with no fees at all. There are many online banks that have no minimums and no fees. There are small local banks that have no fees and no minimums. Most credit unions have no fees, no minimums. And so you're wasting your money. Generally, the larger the bank, the more you get ripped off with all their junky junk fees. And let me give you an example. The average time somebody goes to an ATM is now $4.50. $4.50 withdrawing money from an ATM. Now, do you just have $4.50 to throw away? That would even buy you some overpriced frou-frou drink at Starbucks, right? So stop wasting your money. I want you to resolve to rethink what you're doing with whoever you're banking with and move your account to an organization where you will have no cost whatsoever to do your banking with them. Kick the giant monster mega bank out of your life now.
If you're like most of us, you know that you need to start investing, but you just don't know where to start. There's all those confusing stock dividends and complicated acronyms. It's enough to make your head explode. Well, don't panic, because here's some good news. Acorns is the app that takes the big decision of investing and turns it into a small one for you. You see, Acorns rounds up the spare change from your everyday purchases and then invests it in your future. It's automatic. You just spend like normal, and then you watch as Acorns helps your wealth grow, using your spare change. Acorns was founded on the idea that everyone can be an investor. It doesn't matter how much money you have or how much you know about investing, because Acorns makes every purchase you make become an investment in your future. It's simple. You just connect your favorite credit or debit card to the app, and then it rounds up your purchases to the nearest dollar. The spare change that's in the difference gets invested. And every dollar invested is automatically diversified across thousands of stocks and bonds, which maximizes your return and reduces your risk. So see, Acorns takes that loose change that you throw into a jar at home or on the counter in the store and turns it into something valuable for you. So start investing in your future now and join the more than 1 million users who are already sitting back and letting Acorns do all the work. Sign up today by going to acorns.com/save, and you'll receive $5 when you make your first investment. That's acorns.com/save and get $5 when you make your first investment.
Thanks for joining us on the Clark Howard Show, where it's all about you and your wallet. I want you to learn ideas from me so you can save more and spend less. And don't let anybody ever rip you off. Our web address, clark.com. When you got a question for me, clark.com/ask. And when you have a question for me, and maybe you're shy about going on the air or whatever, you know you can get off-air advice for free 45 hours a week, 9 hours each weekday, a service of the Clark Howard Show. You can talk with a member of Team Clark, again, for free. If you go to Clark.com, you'll see how to call in for advice. And it's been a service of our show since 1993, where we have provided free off-the-air advice. So take advantage of it and get the information you need for your wallet. You know, rumors have a way of spreading and becoming, as far as people are concerned, fact. And I can't believe how many people have already asked me if they're really in danger of going to jail for sharing a password for Netflix or HBO, they call it HBO Go, I guess, or any television service where people share passwords, because an urban legend has taken on a life that says that you face severe criminal charges and that you could go to prison for a significant period of time for having used somebody else's password. First, let me tell you, it is not true. It is not true. The real story, there was a corporate case involving people using other people's passwords. And it went through trial, went through appeal and all that. And one of the federal courts of appeal, the one based in San Francisco, issued a decision that found that someone stole trade secrets by accessing a computer without authorization. And that had nothing at all to do with using a password. One of the judges who dissented from the ruling said specifically that the judge was worried, that he was worried that this could lead to people being found criminally liable or criminally, going to prison for sharing passwords. But that's not at all what this is about. The judges on the majority side said this had nothing to do with you sharing passwords to watch video. But for whatever reason, the way this story has taken life, it has gone that direction. So Netflix has been very clear. They're fine with you sharing your password with a friend or family member. In fact, our producers when did you, Joel and Kim, was it both of you met with?
We did, yeah. We met with some folks from Netflix a couple months ago and talked about what they were up to.
And this predated
this whole story
decision, but they made it clear that, well, I'll let you say it.
Yeah, they indicated that if folks share a password and both are able to watch Netflix, that it's great. It gets people involved in Netflix and their brand and in what they have to offer, and hopefully eventually they'll get their own at some point.
But even if somebody is lame in television and doesn't want passwords shared, you're not going to prison. Some of this goes back to all the fuss about people stealing music, and people are making a connection that, well, if you're sharing a password, you're stealing. This is a completely different thing. Remember, the whole music stealing thing was people were downloading music they weren't paying for and then sharing content they stole with other people and on like that. There's an initial payer, the person who pays for Netflix or Hulu or whatever the video stream is. And so don't worry. Go ahead and enjoy your television. And the Netflix thing has changed television, obviously, that it's so much a part of just the air, the conversation. And the funny thing is that my kids have no idea what it means to watch TV on a schedule. It doesn't exist as part of their experience. My son is at an age where for him it's all about YouTube and subscribing to YouTube channels of people, and there's a guy in England that my 10-year-old son follows, and he puts out 2 video shorts a day. And there's a certain time of day they're supposed to be out, and my son is like at his tablet when that happens. Even though he doesn't have to be, he can watch it whenever. He's the one making the appointment because it's not required to do that, because now the future of television is that you watch on your schedule, except for sports. I'm probably the only person who watches sports that way, where I record my NFL games and then I watch them. I ignore all reports on who won or who lost or anything like that, and then I watch when it fits my schedule. But most other people, they're actually watching sports live. Tyler's with us on the Clark Howard Show. Hi, Tyler.
Hi, Clark.
How are you?
Great to talk to you.
So, Tyler, your phone's a little iffy here, so let's see if I can hear you okay.
Okay, let me see if I can move. Maybe that'll help.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, I'm here. Are you hearing me okay?
I hear you okay right now. Go ahead.
Okay. So our youngest is adopted. We adopted him from our city's foster care system. And he came into our house when he was about 3.5, and we were able to adopt him when he was about 4. And what we found out after the adoption was finalized, that the stipend we had been receiving would continue until he was 18, which we didn't know at the time.
I've never heard of that before. I don't know if that's common in many states. But my understanding is that when a foster parent adopts a foster child, that then that child is out of the foster system, but you continue to receive the monthly for all the years moving forward. I have never heard that.
Yeah, and they did put him in a special category because of his background in his past and things that he came out of. But, yeah, we were not aware of that either, but we will welcome it. So it's about $450 a month until he's 18.
Well, let me say to you, to both you and your wife, how grateful I am to you for being part of the foster care system, bringing in a child. Over the years, when I meet foster children and adults who were foster children, what a difference it makes in their lives when somebody steps forward and gives them a loving home.
Well, it's been a huge blessing for us, and he's a great little guy.
That's great. So now you got this unexpected money. Is that what you're calling me about, is what to do with that?
Yeah, so he's 6 now, so we've been using it to catch up on some bills and just meet our budget and whatnot, but we're in a position where we feel like we could be setting aside some of it, if not all of it, for the future, and just kind of wondering what our best options would be as far as investing and saving.
And as far as your child's prospects, does he seem like ultimately he may go to college, or what kind of things are you thinking?
Yeah, I think, as far as capabilities, he would definitely be college material. I mean, who knows? I mean, things could change a lot in 12 years, but yeah, so I know there's education funds strictly for college, and that was one consideration, but I was also thinking, what if college isn't in his future and he decides to do something else? Is there
right? So that is an interesting dilemma you pose to me, because the most efficient use of this money is for you to put it in a 529 college savings plan, because the money grows over this next decade and then can be used tax-free for college. All the money that grows and all that, it's all tax-free.
Okay.
And so that is a great use of it. If in your family, is there a culture that what's expected is people go to college when they hit 18 or 19?
Well, our oldest is 16, and he's definitely looking in that direction. My wife and I are both college grads, so that's definitely been part of our family culture.
Then I'd say that puts a priority on putting a good chunk of this money into a 529 plan.
Okay.
Now, otherwise, you can take some money as well, and you can just open an investment account that is what's known as a custodial investment account for benefit of your child, and that would be money that can be used for any purpose, but depending on state law, at 18 or 21, it would become your child's money.
Okay.
So that would be the alternative, but the first best place to put it is in the 529 plan if college is a likely outcome.
Yeah, I would say it's likely. I'd put it in that category.
And you own the account for his benefit is how you set it up.
Okay.
And I don't know if you've seen, I've got a 529 plan guide at clark.com.
Oh, no, I haven't seen that.
So if you go look at that, I guide you through how to pick a plan.
Okay.
And see, it should make it fairly easy for you to pick a good plan for him.
Okay. Great.
All right. Well, best to you. And again, I'm grateful to you for what you've done bringing this child into your home. Fran is with us on the Clark Howard Show. Hello, Fran.
Hello, Clark. How are you?
Great, thank you. You're moving to New York.
Yes, sir. Moving from Florida to New York. Some people say I'm crazy, but
that is so backwards.
Yeah, that's what everyone says. But we're from upstate New York, so we wanted to go home while we still had a chance.
Okay.
Time up there. So I'm buying a house up there, and I got the paperwork from the lawyer last week. We're closing this Friday. And as I was looking through it, there was something called title insurance on there. I emailed and said, hey, what is this? Is this mandatory? And they said, no, it's not mandatory, but we think you should do it. It's almost $2,000. So I looked it up online a little bit and can't tell. Some people say yes, some people say no. So I just thought, what does Clark think about title insurance?
So are you paying cash for this home?
I am.
Because when it's voluntary, it means you're a cash buyer. So what the advantage of title insurance is that $2,000 could turn out, as it is most of the time, to be a big waste of money because nobody ever disputes the title or your ownership of it or whatever, and you're like, why did I spend that money? But on the other hand, if for whatever reason there ever was a challenge to your legal right to have title to the property, the title insurer defends you, and if they fail in their defense, they have to pay you so you don't lose all the cash you paid to buy the property. So the purpose of it, these circumstances are very rare. If you think about what are you paying for the property in New York?
$435.
Okay, so if something happened and somebody said, no, seller did not have clear title to this happened or that happened or the other happened, and they successfully challenge your ownership, you lose all that money. But the circumstance is extremely rare. So
should I weigh the fact that only one person's owned the home before me?
Well, again, there's a certain gamble involved. I'll tell you, when I have been a cash buyer of a property, I have bought title insurance anyway.
Okay.
And I just would not want to be in a position later where I'd say, I cannot believe this. So here's how I'd make that decision. If in the very obscure, remote possible situation, somebody were to come along, successfully challenge the title, and you lose $435,000, would you lose sleep over that?
Mm-hmm. Of course.
Then that's your answer. If it fails the sleep test, then you need to buy the title insurance. Tom's joining us on the Clark Howard Show. Hi, Tom. How are you doing?
Hi, Clark. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure. Tom, the clock is ticking on something that you can't decide on. Tell me.
Well, I need to upgrade my Windows 8 computer to Windows 10. I've heard the advantage now is it's free until the end of July. There are many websites out there that are actually advertisements. And can you suggest a trusted, scam-free website to download it from?
Well, you can download it right from Microsoft. which is the easiest.
Okay.
But I'm on Windows 10, and I only have one PC left because generally I only use a Chromebook, so it's not an issue. But Windows 10 is a vastly superior experience to Windows 8. You know, normally when you do a quote-unquote upgrade of an operating system, it's always got pluses and minuses, and sometimes it feels like there's more minuses than pluses.
Right.
But the Windows 10 is much, much easier as a consumer to use than Windows 8. And so I would strongly encourage you to take advantage of the free, because once the free is up, is it going to be like $150 or something?
Yes, it's quite expensive.
So they're begging people to take this for free before it becomes a very expensive chore.
Okay.
And so I would like for you to do it, but take it from Microsoft.
Directly from them. Okay,
yeah.
I'll do that.
And you know what's neat is that when my computer cut over, the amount of time it took to get used to it was 0 time.
So it's very similar.
No, it's much better. I don't know how to describe it. You know how Windows 8 was not intuitive at all?
Right.
Windows 10 is just, it just works.
Okay.
So I think you'll be very happy about it. It's nothing like, I mean, I don't know if you ever used a Chromebook, but
never.
It's not close to the experience with a Chromebook, which is by far the best design anybody has ever had for a personal computer or laptop. And Chromebook, you know, when I open my Chromebook, 4 seconds later, I'm on the internet. There's no boot up process. It's just streamlined, simple, smart, and it just gets better and better. And so I can't imagine I'll ever buy a Windows computer ever again, or a Mac.
You know, when you're going to buy a car, pricing information is great and necessary. But there's more to doing it than just the price. There's the actual buying experience. If you want to enjoy a better one, you should go to a TrueCar certified dealer. They're there to help you find the car that you want, and they're also what make TrueCar unique. With TrueCar, you can connect with a local certified dealer that you choose, so you can lock in a guaranteed savings off the MSRP and enjoy a totally better buying experience. And by better, they also mean faster. Over 2 million cars have already been sold to TrueCar users who have visited their TrueCar certified dealer. And there are over 11,000 TrueCar certified dealers nationwide, so it's probably pretty easy to find one near you. And check this, for a new car, average TrueCar users save $3,279 off MSRP. All right, so you're probably wondering, how do I do this? It's easy. Just go to TrueCar.com or, right there on your phone, download the TrueCar app. You can find the car you want, see the TrueCar pricing curve, which shows you what other people in your area paid for the same car, and that way you can know you're getting a good price and feel confident. Then you'll get a guaranteed savings certificate from the TrueCar certified dealer. Go to the dealer, and your guaranteed savings off MSRP will be honored, and you enjoy a quick, easy experience. How's that for car buying? So when you're ready to buy a new car, or even a used one, visit TrueCar.com or download the TrueCar app and enjoy the better car buying experience. Some features are not available in all states.
I'm glad you're with us on the Clark Howard Show, where it's about you learning ways to save more and spend less, and don't let anybody ever rip you off. So multi-level marketing organizations where you're recruited in and you got your upline, your downline, your everything line. Friend or foe? Scam, rip-off, what are they? We're going to talk about that because it's been much in the news the last couple of days because Herbalife was fined $200 million for practices that they have engaged in. I'm going to tell you what you need to know before you start selling for anybody that's coming your way in just 30 minutes. Our web address, clark.com. You have a question, clark.com/ask. So the stock market is, well, around all-time highs, session after session. May go up a little, down a little, and then it'll hit a session where it's at an all-time high. And at the same time, companies have not been reporting great profits. So lot of people are nervous. I'm getting more questions than I have in a good while from people who are like, should I get out? Should I get out? Is it safe to be in the stock market? That is the word that, well, it kind of makes my chest tighten up when somebody asking me about the stock market asks me, is it safe? Because that is a word that I can't really speak to. Because when you invest in anything, invest means that you are taking a chance that you will lose money in order to have an opportunity to make money. Life is not without risk. And so the question comes with investing, what's your alternative? What goal are you trying to reach? So let's say, as an example, the U.S. economy, I know it doesn't feel like it, but we're in one of the longest expansions in American history. You know, we haven't had a recession in a long time. I know for a lot of people it feels like we never got out of the Great Recession. But we've had a long, long, long run. Stock market has had a phenomenal run from its low of now, gosh, it's 7 years ago, the stock market, 7.5 years almost. The stock market hit its low from the financial crisis and financial scandals from the big banks and all that. And so the market has gone up a whole lot. And then I tell you, you know, the market ultimately is measured by if companies are making money, that what you pay for a stock should be based on whether or not a company is making money. If, like most people, you own mutual funds or index funds, or you own a fund through an employer plan, and you're in what I call stock type choices, you are owning a piece of a company's future profits. That's all a stock is it's the belief that a company is going to continue to report more profits over time and then generate more wealth for you as an owner of that company. So now I tell you, profits have been dropping at a lot of companies. Stocks are at a really high value. So the if leads to the then. Sell everything? No, that's not the if and then. That's not the cause and effect. Because as humans, we are not capable of knowing when to buy and when to sell. It is impossible to know when to buy and when to sell. And as I've shared with you in the past, people who, as individuals, who human nature being what it is, you're in, you're out, you wait till things get safe again. Individuals do much worse on average than the quote-unquote market does overall. So what I encourage you to do today, as I would any other day, if this was a day that there was a collapse in the stock market and we would get the panic phone calls and people would be asking, well, what do I do? What do I do? Should I sell everything? And I remember back in 2007, I guess it was, when things were really falling off a cliff and we were doing special shows. I remember once there was something terrible that happened on a Saturday, and we did a special show that we made available to stations around the country from 10 to midnight on a Saturday night, because we could tell from what people were putting on our website that there was like real panic in the air. And the thing is, remember the goal, remember what you're trying to accomplish, and be well diversified. So in the midst of the fact that there are signs that would say at least that we could have at some point, we always do, we'll have a decline in the value of stocks, to say, okay, so that means I should get out. That is exactly not what I would say you do if it's money that's for into the future. And remember this rule, if you're under age 45, staying in through particularly an employer plan where you're putting in money every pay period or every month, or you're contributing automatically to a Roth account every month, you make more money from market declines than you do from market gains. It's simple math that is why you ignore the headlines. And the better you do at ignoring headlines and remember the goal, which is long-term wealth, you just have your plan and stick to it through thick and thin. People who stayed in through 7, 8, and 9 made big money by staying in for the recovery. The people who fled have never recovered. Lisa's with us on the Clark Howard Show. Hi, Lisa.
Hi, Clark. How are you?
Great. Thank you, Lisa. Lisa, you want to talk about a newfangled way to invest?
Yes, Betterment. I was interested on your thoughts on the company Betterment. My partner and I are 30 and 35 years old, and we're looking to retire in approximately 20 years.
And Betterment is a great idea because what Betterment does is you pay them for computer modeling based on your situation, and they come up with, at extremely low cost, a portfolio for you that they adjust over time, and you pay nothing for them doing the automatic adjusting. And it is a very, very well thought out, what's known as robo investment advisor.
And what about the fact that it's SIPC insured, not FDIC?
Oh, anything that's an investment organization will not be FDIC insured.
Okay.
The Securities Investors Protection Corporation, SIPC, is not a federal agency. You know, FDIC is an agency of the federal government, and SIPC is not. And so the purpose of the SIPC is to make it seem like money you put with a stockbroker is really safe, but it's really window dressing. You're relying upon the honesty of an organization when it involves an SIPC organization.
Okay.
But as far as what Betterment is doing and Wealthfront, which is a competitor of theirs, I don't know if you looked at Wealthfront.
Yes, I did see that.
Charles Schwab has their equivalent called Schwab Intelligent Portfolios. And Vanguard has its version, which I'm trying to remember what Vanguard calls theirs. Theirs costs 0.30% per year for Vanguard to do it. And Betterment starts at 0.35, I think, percent. It goes down from there. So the idea is that instead of hiring a traditional fee-only planner at usually 1%, these alternatives using computer modeling are a lot cheaper, usually about a third the cost.
Okay. Do you think a plan for a 20-year retirement is not too far-fetched?
Not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. I mean, the idea of the modeling is they calculate trying to come up with a portfolio that is diverse enough so that you're doing things beyond what you as an individual might not feel comfortable putting money in the various investment choices that the computer modeling would say. It might feel uncomfortable to you, or you might not have knowledge about it, or might not be familiar. And so they're able to use the waterfront of investing to come up with a strategy that lowers risk over time and increases the odds that you'll get the financial security you're looking for.
So in your opinion, would you recommend Betterment or Vanguard, or does it really depend on what you're looking to invest?
These are all good choices. It's not like you're asking me for a bad choice, but I would look at Betterment, I'd look at Wealthfront, I'd look at Schwab, I'd look at Vanguard. Fidelity Investments is coming out with its own version, which I think will be ready next month. And so you have options that you can use that are very low cost, where you get, in Vanguard's case, you have personal hand-holding. You must talk to an individual. With these others, they're computer models.
And the Vanguard one is called Vanguard Personal Advisor Services?
Okay. No wonder I couldn't remember. It's not pithy at all, is it? It's not like a cutesy little name like everybody else uses. But the
Roth IRA.
Sorry?
A Roth IRA with Betterment. I was interested in that as well.
That's a great idea. I mean, generally when people are building these retirement accounts, they're going to do it through a Roth IRA with any of these vehicles.
But if I want access to the funds.
Well, you can if you needed access in the 20 years. You could take money out of the Roth, but the purpose is not to do that. The purpose is to let the money grow tax-free and be there for you to spend tax-free in retirement in 20 years. When you start pulling money out, it makes it tougher for you to meet your goals. But I am very comfortable with the modeling. That each organization is doing the modeling a little differently, but I'm very comfortable with what they're all doing with the computer modeling to build portfolios at very low cost. And so it's just a matter of which company feels best to you, Lisa. I'm just glad you're going to do the investing. Brett is with us on the Clark Howard Show. Hi, Brett.
Hey, how you doing?
Great, thank you. You're looking to buy a home.
Yes, sir. Be a first-time home buyer. I know my wife actually was a first-time home buyer back in 2012. I know they were doing some sort of tax credit or something like that. I didn't know if they were still doing that program. That was kind of the first part of my question.
No, that is over. I'm trying to think who among our crew. I know Joel used one of those credits. Don't know if Kim did. But those were when housing was flat on its back.
Right.
That was a program to try to get people out buying homes again. That is generally not the problem around the country, so the credits are history.
Okay. All right, so the next part is when we initially went to speak to a lender, they basically pre-approved me for, it was about, we're trying to get $210,000. And in that time, unfortunately, I wasn't using my head, and I had some credit inquiries. I was in the process of buying a truck. I was doing some stuff for our business, and it dropped my credit score. And then the lender called and said, because of those inquiries, now I would have to be paying almost like $35,000 in PMI.
Okay, wait. That's only over the life of the loan they're talking about.
Correct.
All right.
And
don't freak out about
only
that.
once I achieve 20% equity in the house.
Yeah, don't freak out about that, because with the inquiries you had, you probably boosted your interest rate a fair amount too.
Right.
But the thing is if you find a deal on a home you're interested in and you get that home, then as soon as your credit has recovered from the truck loan and other things, at that point you can do a refinance.
Okay.
So don't look at those expenses as being something that's permanent, that's through your cycle of ownership of the home. But one other thing, and I can't thank you enough for bringing this up, Brett, when you are going to buy a home, do not do any other applications for credit at all in the months leading up to buying a home, because it can do to you just what's happened to Brett, where you get stuck with a higher interest rate or may even have trouble getting approved because of the hit you get from those new applications for credit. And with credit cards, make sure you're using very little of the credit available on those cards in the time period leading up to closing on the mortgage, not just being approved, but closing on the mortgage for the home you're buying. It's time for Ask Clark. That's where our producer, Joel, asks a question you posted for me at Clark.com. Who's the first one from, Joel?
Clark got one from Ann. She says, we want recommendations, Clark, for an alternative to a 529 plan. We want more flexibility with the money. If we did end up with a 529 plan, we'd obviously look at your list, though.
So the alternative that still fits education is to do a Coverdell ESA, Education Savings Account. Coverdell allows you to put aside up to $2,000 each year, so it has a tight cap on it, but the money can be used for education at any level, from private school, elementary, middle, or high school to college. And so it is a more flexible alternative in terms of where it can be used. But it is inflexible in that the limits are much tighter on doing the Coverdell.
Or Clark, Fred says, where do you recommend getting a checking account and a debit card for a 16-year-old kid?
Wow. Okay. I'm going to give a quick answer on that. If you are a USAA member, do the USAA Youth Spending Account. If you're not, the best I've seen is the Capital One 360 Teen Account.
Stay tuned for 60 seconds of AP News headlines right after this podcast.
I'm glad you're with us on the Clark Howard Show, where it's about you learning ways to keep more of what you make. You can follow me at facebook.com/Clark Howard, on the web, clark.com. When you have a question, clark.com/ask. Clark is CLARK.com. Over the years, I have had more questions about Herbalife as a multi-level marketing organization than perhaps any other. And my answers when people call and ask my opinion of Herbalife have generated a lot of hostility, to put it mildly. There are people who believe very much in Herbalife as a multi-level marketing organization. In their case, they sell nutritional supplements. And there was a federal investigation of Herbalife. And what I'm going to share with you fits so much the check marks I talk about with multi-level organizations. I'm going to read directly from the federal release about Herbalife. Herbalife has agreed to fully restructure their U.S. business operations and pay $200 million. That's a lot of money. To compensate consumers to settle Federal Trade Commission charges that the company deceived consumers into believing they could earn substantial money selling diet, nutritional supplement, and personal care products. It goes on to talk about how the compensation structure was unfair because it rewards distributors for recruiting others to join rather than in response to actual retail demand for the product. So Herbalife is going to have to, this is a direct quote, fundamentally restructure its business so that participants are rewarded for what they sell, not how many people they recruit. If you are a longtime listener to this show, you know no matter what multi-level someone has ever called me about at any time, going all the way back to my very first book I wrote in 1993, back to when I went on the air in the 1980s, the checkmark list has always been the same. When people have called either interested in or trying to rebut what I've said about any multi-level marketing organization, the goal, the purpose needs to be to sell a product or service to strangers. And the money you earn needs to be based on selling, having a compelling desire of somebody to buy that product or service from you, that's what it should be about, and never about recruiting people into an organization. Because when it's about recruiting people and you get your upline and your downline and your blah, blah line, the lingo is a kick, by the way. If you ever read any of the propaganda from any multi-level, that if it's all about just recruiting people and that's how you make money, you run out of people on earth pretty quickly. So any legitimate sales organization is about selling products or services to people not involved in the organization. So in terms of what people have earned, the FTC complaint goes on to show that most people didn't make anything. A very small number of people made big money, and most people reported, 57% of people either made nothing or lost money. The Dare to Be Rich pitch of any multi-level needs to be dissected down to the fact that if people are not busy talking about how great the product is, how great it is, how it's going to improve somebody's life, where its competitive position is versus other similar products, if that's not what's being talked about product knowledge and all the rest, and instead they're talking about, so you multiply out and you make money this way and you got money from this line and that line and this down line and the other line. Why is all line? Anyway, keep your ears tuned when you go to any of these pitches. If instead people are talking about what car they bought, or they have this nice boat or whatever now, or they're living in some big house, they're living large in some big house or whatever, the real test is it just that individual who's doing that, or are they getting those things because they have a product that people just can't get enough of? And by a product, I mean an actual product, not being part of somebody's downline. So be aware, be wary. Herbalife was just one of the bigger players out there, but the rule is the same. The rule is always the same. It must be about the compelling reason someone would buy your product versus going to Walmart or Amazon.com or wherever it is and buying whatever they're selling. Patrick's with us on the Clark Howard Show. Hi, Patrick.
Hey, Clark. How you doing?
Great, thank you. You have something that just came up in my family. Just has come up as a discussion. What are you trying to do?
All right, Clark. Well, I just took a new job across the country, and at the end of the next month, I plan on moving my wife and the rest of my belongings, and I wanted to know what the best way to do that would be.
Is this a whole household move, or?
No, it's just a one-bedroom apartment. You know, we don't have much, just a bed, dresser, a couple of TVs, and a couch. So.
Okay, so this is going to freak you out when I say this. A lot of times it's cheaper if you're moving more than 1,000 miles to sell what you have and start fresh.
I thought that might be your answer.
But if that's not the answer you're looking for, and you want to move some of these possessions, have you ever heard me mention U-Ship?
You know, I looked at U-Ship, and the quote was like $4,000.
See, this is exactly the problem, and why I'm talking about you maybe considering jettisoning all but the smallest items that maybe you can stuff in your car with you and drive across the country. Because if you were to hire a traditional moving company, and you're going all the way across the country, right?
Yes, sir.
You're talking about big money, and you're not corporate relo where the company you're taking the job with is paying for that move. If you had a whole house of furnishings and possessions and all that, then taking the big hit on a move makes some sense. But otherwise, if things that are not breakable, have you priced out with smaller things, looking at maybe using UPS or FedEx to move things across? Because generally under 70 pounds, that's an effective way to do it.
No, I haven't. And I've got a truck back on the East Coast where I'm moving from. So I'll be able to utilize that, and then my wife's car for the small things. But like our bed and dresser.
Sell your bed and dresser.
That's all we've got.
Sell them.
I'd hate to let it go.
Let them go. Let them go, because the cost of moving them, unless they are like precious antiques or something like that, are they?
Oh, no.
They're not family heirlooms. Furniture loses value so quickly. You can sell them where somebody's getting a great deal buying them from you, and then you buy used when you get to your new destination.
Okay.
I know that doesn't sound sentimental. I don't get sentimental about possessions, though. So.
No, I don't either. Yeah, I figured that would be the answer because that's what I was coming to as well. But I was hoping to get some other alternative. But you're right, it is just way too expensive.
Yeah, so ditch the things and start fresh. And if you really, if you don't want to buy used and you want to buy new, is there an IKEA? Do you like IKEA's style? Is there an IKEA where you're moving to?
I believe so.
So that's an alternative. You know, if you go into an IKEA on a Saturday or Sunday, which is those are the 2 days you really don't want to be there. But if you go there, you will see a zillion apartment dwellers in buying furnishings for their one-bedroom apartment.
Wow. Okay. Well, I'll take a look at it. Everything that we've got was handed down to us, so we're just starting out newlyweds.
All right. So again, none of it has family sentimentality to it?
No, none at all.
If it's just hand-me-downs and no sentimental thing to it, let it go, and you be unsentimental, maybe buying somebody else's used stuff where you go to. And I hope you love your new career opportunity. Stacy's with us on the Clark Howard Show. Hi, Stacy.
Hi, Clark. Thanks for having me on your show.
It's great to have you here. You got a question about your kids, and you're worried about their privacy, aren't you?
I am, yes.
What's happening?
Our state fair competition requires that we give the student's Social Security number in the event that they win a prize, because it's a cash prize, and I don't want to give them my kids' Social Security numbers.
All right, now you said a key thing. You said something. I want to make sure I heard you right. You don't give the Social Security number for your kids for them to enter. You only give it if they're the winner, and they're going to end up with a cash reward for that.
No, the directions here say specifically that if we do not give the Social Security number that matches the student that is entering in the art, they will not even qualify to win the cash prize.
That is ridiculous, and that is not right. You know, if you are entering a competition as a kid, or even as an adult, and the prospects are most people are not going to be winners. Most people are not going to be receiving a cash prize. The organizers of the event are creating a risk for themselves and a liability exposure that is completely unnecessary and unreasonable. You know, at the time somebody wins, to be asked to fill out paperwork that would include a Social Security number, that's very reasonable, Stacy, because that's a legitimate business reason.
I agree. And it also states that they have to send in the IRS the prize money totaling $600 or more, and we're looking at prizes that are $75 or less.
Well, the whole thing is silly, and I don't know who is the organizer, but that is not a good decision on their part, and it's reckless, in fact. And
my question...
Yes?
Sorry.
Go ahead.
My question was, is there an alternative tax ID number that I could use in place of a Social Security for tax reporting purposes?
You could. It's not considered to be a legitimate use of the system. You could request an EIN, an alternative federal number that is two numbers followed by a dash instead of the way a Social Security number works. And that would not be something I would recommend. I think that you would be wise to be an advocate for other parents and see if the procedure could not be changed. And $75 prize to require a kid's Social Security number when it's not even going to be reported it's just not good thinking on the part of the organizers of the state fair. And it is careless in an era of such rampant identity theft, and you're making a smart decision as a mom to stand up for your kids and their privacy. Patty's with us on the Clark Howard Show. Hi, Patty. How are you?
Hi, Clark. It's so fun to talk to you.
Great to have you here, Patty.
Hey, I wanted your advice on the best strategy to pay down debt. I want to double up on my payments every month, but is it better to do it a double payment on the date that the payment is due, or is it better to pay, the amount due the first of the month and then another payment the 15th of the month?
So,
does it matter?
All right, let me tell you, there's a strategy, and I've got a briefing on it at Clark.com, where you pay your payment every 2 weeks.
Okay.
Instead of paying twice a month. The math is so amazing. You get out of debt in 1/4 the time you would otherwise, and that's just paying the minimum you're required to. In your case, if you're going to double up on payments, you would get out of debt lightning fast. It would be amazing how quickly you would get out of debt. So you're thinking of whatever the minimum payment is on the cards, you would just pay exactly double that?
Yeah, or even more than. So say, for example, the minimum payment is $40. I want to pay $200 a month. So is it better to pay $100 on the date due and then another $100 2 weeks later?
That's a very interesting question. If you set yourself up where you were just sending them $100 every 2 weeks, like automatic bill pay, you'd always be meeting the minimum payment requirement, but you'd be getting money into their hands continually quicker because the interest on a credit card is calculated daily.
Okay.
So getting money into their hands, like sending 100, let's say, on the 14th and another 100 on the 28th is better than 200 all at once on the 28th, because that 100, the second they get it, that stops the interest accruing anytime ever again on that 100.
Right.
Have you ever noticed on your credit card statement, there's a federally required box now, and it shows if you pay the minimum payment, it's almost like a joke. It says if you pay the minimum payment, you'll be finished paying in 43 years and 12 months or 32 years and 6 months. Have you seen that?
Yes.
Below it, there's another number that says if you pay this much per month, you'll be out of debt in 36 months. And what's interesting is that what you have to pay to go from 40 years to 3 years is not a monstrously larger amount of payment every month. So you will have a huge effect on the time cycle that you'll be in debt simply by doing what you're talking about doing.
Okay.
So very exciting.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Best of luck to you.
Okay.
Bye, Patty.
Thanks for listening to the Clark Howard Podcast. Download new episodes every Monday through Friday at podcastone.com. That's podcastone.com. Stay tuned for the latest AP News headlines from Podcast One right after this.
It's summer, and just because you've got plenty of time on your hands doesn't mean your hands are always free. That's why I've been working on my Audible summer listening list. Discover where Audible audiobooks can take you this summer. Download your books or shows to your mobile device and listen anytime, anywhere. With an unmatched selection of audiobooks, original audio shows, and comedy. Audible is your best source for summer entertainment. Start a 30-day trial and download your first audiobook for free by going to audible.com/podcast1. That's audible.com/podcast1.
AP Update, I'm Ed Donahue. Speechwriter Meredith McIver is taking the blame for Monday night's speech at the Republican convention by Melania Trump that at times sounded like a speech in 2008 delivered by Michelle Obama.
We want our children in this nation to know that the only limit to your achievements is the strength of your dreams and your willingness to work for them.
In a statement released by the Trump campaign, McIver says it was her mistake and she apologizes. She says Donald Trump's wife has always liked Michelle Obama. McIver says she wrote down some passages from Michelle Obama's 2008 speech at the Democratic convention and later included some of the phrasing in the draft that ultimately became the final speech. McIver has been co-author of some of Donald Trump's books. She says she offered to resign, but Donald Trump refused to accept her resignation. MacIver says no harm was meant. AP Update. I'm Ed Donahue.